Good evening. I'm going to tell you the story actually of two lives, of two girls on an island, in a small society, or any society for that matter. And there are going to be two girls born in the same year. One is Elsa, and the other one is Lisa. So Elsa is this girl that lives in a more stable environment. She was born in a stable environment. She has this loving family, caring family, unity, and they carry very high norms and values. Lisa is less fortunate. She's born in an environment where there is a lot of bickering, a lot of fighting, or maybe that killing silence in the house, which might be even worse. So they all family members live parallel from each other and not really in unity. And they don't carry very high norms and values. The norms and values, they get it from the streets. Now I want to take you 15 years later. They're both teenagers. So that's trouble already. Elsa is going to school, wants to be Beyonce or a doctor or whatever. And she's just trouble for her parents, sometimes just annoying 15-year-olds. Lisa just found out she's pregnant. She might be pregnant from a guy that thought she was going to get love from outside her turbulent home, or maybe her stepfather that turned her pregnant. She doesn't have the social safety net, she doesn't have the financial safety net, but more importantly, she doesn't have the emotional safety net. So she drops out of school. Taking you 15 years later, now they're both 30. Elsa finished some kind of education, has a stable job, 0 to 1 kids, not a lot to tell about that. Lisa now has 5 kids. Now she has 5 kids because every guy that came along and promised to get her out of her situation, she believed it, and the only thing that he left behind is another kid. And she never put attention to education. She never had a stable job. And on top of that, her daughter, her firstborn, just came up to her and told her, you know something? This history repeats because I'm pregnant as well at 15-year-old. So she's become a grandmother at 30. I take you 15 years later, they're both 45. Elsa now has 1 to 2 kids. She might be married or not married. She might be rich or poor. But what is really important is that she is loving and caring, and she creates unity in her home and instills the same norms and values that she was taught by her parents. That's her focus. Lisa, the story just repeats. So now they have 25 more descendants, and plus the 5, 30. And you can go on like this. So at 75, the ratio looks skewed like this. So why am I telling you this story? Where does this come from? And why is it important? At 17 years old, I thought about this storyline. And for me, it was an extreme storyline to just make a point. And the point was for everybody that is as selfish as they can be engaged into the less fortunate in our society, and especially in the education of the less fortunate in our society. Now that was my original idea, so this was for me an extreme example. Now throughout the years, I've seen our society harden, I've seen crime rates increase, and I've seen norms and values decrease. So I decided, I had this in mind, so let me go and investigate it a little bit more. And so I went. And what I found is that things are a little bit worse than I thought, because the extreme storyline that I thought about wasn't that extreme at all. It was happening. And worse than that, the norms and values of that group was deteriorating increasingly. And to understand that a little bit better, I invite you, I did that for myself and I got scared very fast. But I invite you also to go to the 15-year-old you. And imagine you have to now take care of a kid. You do not have your parents, but you have to take care of a kid. You don't have a job, you have to actually keep a job. And for the heroes among you that think, I can do that. Now think about having a second child and a third child with the mindset and the knowledge and the skills you had at 15-year-old. Now, I don't know about you, but for me that was scary. I don't think that I can do it. So the most important thing is that to realize that first generation teenage pregnancy is not that bad. But second and third generation pregnancy, that's when you're doomed to live in poverty. The chances are big. And then crime becomes more attractive. Self-prostitution becomes like the only logical solution there is. And it starts for the needed goods and then it goes to luxury goods. And then, how about prostitution of the next generation? Have we heard about those stories? So, deterioration of norms and values. Now, the important thing is, what does that do to your society? What's the impact? Now, we've already seen the skewed ratios, right? Now, let me take you into what impact does this have on your education system. Now, this is besides the dropouts and all the guys out of school. It's also about the teachers. Don't we hear about teachers? Teachers saying, the norms and values in the schools are a lot lower. And how about the workforce? I don't know if any of you do HR, but don't you have sometimes those people coming in for a job interview and you're like, really? Do you really think this is appropriate to wear this to a job interview? And how about your burden on the healthcare system? And the burden on your judicial system and social net system? And we talked about education and we talked about the workforce. So think about the quality of your taxpayer. And now imagine you're Ministry of Finance of this country and try to balance that budget. And even if you manage to balance that budget, how sustainable is your balanced budget? As a matter of fact, how sustainable is your country at all? I don't know about you guys, but it's quite scary. So, what do you do next, right? I mean, thank you, Joanne, for this story. It was just a happy story, now it isn't. Now, most of people would go to the education of the dropouts. There are great programs out there, and I've been through them, and they're just great. That's where I was inclined to go myself in the beginning. But what do you do with that growth effect? Every 15 years, exponentially growing. Every scope that you think about the problem to solve, it's too small. Every time you take that you're going to solve the problem, it's too short or too long. So what do? You have to deal with that exponential growth, and how do you do it? The good news about this thing is that there is a solution, or there's at least a solution that mitigates the issue, and it's called the paternity law. The paternity law works like this. It's very simple. Child is born. People go to the mother and ask, who's the father of this child? The mother will give a name, Ellen. And we go to Ellen and we tell Ellen, congratulations, you're the father of a child. Now, Ellen might freak out and say, no, that's not my kid. So we do a DNA test. And out of the DNA test comes that he's not the father. We go back to the mother, and otherwise it is positive, and he'll have to take care financially of the kid till he's 18 years old anyway. And pay for the DNA test. What we try to achieve with this, we do not try to achieve one feministic movement to punish men. The thing is about trying to make people conscious that the next time they have intercourse, after the first and second time they've been put responsible for a kid, at least maybe they will be more responsible with their intercourse and use that condom. That's just the only thing that we want to do. Because we've seen situations where a guy 32 years old has 21 kids, maybe we can mitigate that, or the stepfather raping his 12, 13-year-old kid. So that's what we want to tackle. So conclusion. We already seen this is devastating. This growth effect is devastating for our society and doesn't make it any kind of sustainable. So the paternity law is just a way to mitigate this a little bit. And we all need to support it. Because only when it's mitigated, you can at least start then, with a healing process in your society. Thank you.